So, so then we created a small family group, and that grew, and then we have created a third group where we've also got some friends of friends, not just the family or just not just my friends. So this is the first time we are going to have a group which is sort of broad and extensive. We are about 13 or 14 people in this group. I don't expect everybody to join every time because we have a lot of other things happening in our life. But like today, we've got 10, 11 people here, and that's kind of how it will be. The idea is to have these classes for about like an hour. We say an hour, but they usually run about an hour and 15 minutes. I like to kind of talk a little bit in the beginning about the shlokas and the mantras that we are talking about. And then the second half of the class, we would open up for question and answers. Now, I have to be honest with you, that's how I've always planned it. But somehow, the questions keep coming in the middle also. So, if it's a genuine question and you have a clarification, please feel free to ask. I want to keep this very informal, very friendly. We are amongst friends. That's how I feel it's the best way to learn and the best way to ask questions. Each person is at a different level, a different stage, so you should all feel completely free and completely open. They say in America here, a no judgment zone. So this is a no judgment zone. Okay? All right. So I wanted to kind of just say just these few words to you. And now I'm going to ask you to very quickly say two things. One, your name and where you're from, where you are located, so that everybody is aware. And second, if you have any thoughts as to what brought you to Gita today, very quickly, you can say that in a minute. Please feel free to go ahead and say. Okay, so I'm going to call out your names because there are a bunch of you so that we can all go one by one. Is that okay? Are we good?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Let's
I
go.
will I will assume that silence means assent. So if you don't agree, please speak up or anything. Okay, so I'm going to on my screen, the topmost is Neeta. So Neeta, would you like to start and tell the group quickly? You're on mute, Didi. Neeta.
Acha.
You're yeah, now
Yeah,
you're unmuted.
yeah. I am Neeta Arora. I'm from Delhi, and I think so many of you must be knowing Veena Bhabhi. She's my Bhabhi. Meeta is my niece, and Nittu, I've known him since last 40 years.
Yeah, Nittu is me, by the way,
As a
another name.
kid, Dheeraj, yeah.
Yes, that's
So
okay.
I felt interested in this case. Time we started, understanding our scriptures. I think it's high time at this leg of our life. We must do something, to understand what it is all about.
Right.
That
Wonderful.
that was yeah. That was the
Thank
thing.
you.
Why?
Thank you. Indu Didi, you're next.
I'm Indu Sengupta, located in Mumbai, to be very precise, Thane. What brought me here is, to be very frank, I also don't know, but there was some pull which pulled me here. So here I am.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Meeta, Dubai.
Hi,
Hi.
I am in Dubai and I'm Nitubia's niece. And I think I wanted to learn about Gita after Papa went. And I think it drew me into these sort of things more. And I wanted to understand death and what comes with it. So I thought it was time for me to get in this way.
Right, right. Seema Soni, you're next. And you're muted, Seema. Hi, Seema. You're
Hi.
muted. Okay, now you're okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm Seema Soni. I stay in Punjabi Bagh, New Delhi. In fact, Mukta Bhabi and we stay in the same house. Like she's on the first floor, I'm on the second floor. And I'm working in Gurgaon. So, in fact, I have a tour tomorrow.
You
So I was
okay.
busy packing also.
Okay.
Half my mind was on that.
Okay.
Then what brings me here, basically, I have been following Sahaj Yoga. I don't know if you're aware of that. I've been doing that for a long time. And in that, they teach you, of course, the first thing that I do is I say that to God that you are the doer. आप ही करता है, आप ही भोगता है, उस
Right.
तरह से.
Right.
तो गीता में भी यही उपदेश है,
Simple. Exactly same. Yes.
कर्म की चिंता मत करो.
Yes.
तो सॉरी, फल की चिंता मत करो, आप कर्म करते रहो. तो जब भाभी ने मुझे बताया था तो आई थॉट मे बी आई शुड ज्वाइन एंड सी और मुझे क्या लर्न करने को मिल सकता
Okay,
है.
sure. Welcome to the group.
Thank
You'll
you.
bring a good new perspective, so that's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
So next is Amita Quatra.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
I am placed in Bhopal and I am Mukta's cousin.
Okay.
And I work in the bank as senior manager, born differently able, but I always say that my abilities are stronger than my disabilities. And so many good qualities I must appreciate myself. I will say I have. Today
Yes.
I'm unable to switch on my video because of some constraints, but next time I'll be there.
Yes, we would love
And
to see you, Amita.
why,
Yes.
why I'm here is that I write about Krishna, I sing about Krishna, I'm a classical singer. I talk about Krishna in the temples, even Mahabharata I recited once in the temple. But today I have come here with empty mind. No any ideas. I want to learn it from the beginning.
Wonderful.
From the
Wonderful.
start. I want to learn it from the start. With empty mind, I have come today.
That's great.
No stories, no myths, just the truth I want to learn.
That is the best way to come, because what you might hear may be different
Yeah.
from what you know.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
right? So come with an empty mind. I think that is for everyone. That's wonderful advice. Thank you,
Yeah.
Amita.
Yeah.
Veena Didi, you're next.
I am Veena Arora, and Nittu is like my son. I always, look forward to see him, and I want to know more and more about life changes and what all happens when suddenly life we are stuck with the कहते हैं ना, some death of your husband. So I could not even live. It was difficult for me to live without him. But now I'm trying to learn from Gita that every life is on its own journey. So I'm trying to be on my own journey and learn more and more about Gita.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Nittu. Love you very much.
Thank you, Didi.
Okay,
Thank you for joining.
okay.
Okay. Aarti ji is next.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Neeta's friend actually,
Okay.
and I'm a huge fan of Krishna ji.
Okay.
मेरी तो उनके साथ मतलब I feel के उनका और मेरा connect is higher than a friend also. मैं लड़ भी लेती हूँ और लाड भी लड़ा लेती हूँ सब. By profession, I'm a publisher. I live in New Delhi. And before I mute myself again, thank you to Meeta for taking this initiative, and thank you, Dheeraj ji, for taking out the time to do this for us.
It's my pleasure. Every time I teach, I learn more. So I have a selfish
Thank you.
motive also, just so you know. Okay. Then Sangeeta is next, all the way from Rishikesh.
Hello, I'm sorry I cannot switch on my video. I'm sitting in the dark because there's no signal inside.
Oh,
And I'm Sangeeta Malik, Nittu Bhaiya's sister, and from Delhi, basically from Punjabi Bagh. And मैं यहाँ क्यों हूँ? Because I think the seed of Gita had been sown in my childhood, and उसके बाद मुझे कभी मौका नहीं मिला कि मैं गीता समझूं. बस एक अध्याय आता था और वो ही मैं रटती थी. तो आई थिंक निट्टू भैया थैंक यू, आज ये मौका मिला है मुझे कि अब मैं सीख पाऊं,
nice.
So thank you so much. Thank you.
No, of course. It's wonderful. We learn together.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Kanchan ji, you're next.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kanchan. I'm Meeta's friend. And I think we met, I don't know, you're very familiar.
Okay.
So maybe
Yeah.
at Meeta's. So I live in Delhi and
Okay.
I have always been a seeker. So I like to see life from the meaning of life from different perspectives, and I like to delve into it. I think it's just an intuitive thing that I've always been interested in. I try to find answers, and I think the more you learn, the more you hear, the more. I mean, it's never ending.
Yes.
So any I should say any opportunity that I would get to for somebody to tell me more, I would grab it.
Wonderful.
So that's my purpose. And Meeta was very persuasive. So उसको तो ना कर ही नहीं सकते और इतने अच्छे काम के लिए तो कभी ना करेंगे ही नहीं. And I mean, this is something that I will never, she knows it, I will never ever, this is like a welcome thing.
Okay.
And thank you so much for taking out time for
Of
doing this
course.
for us. Yeah,
Of course.
thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Kanchan. Sunita, Dua, you're next. Sunita ji, think she may be busy. Maybe we go on to Gayatri then.
Uh,
Hi,
okay,
Gayatri.
I'm Gayatri. I live between Himachal and Delhi. I'm trying to switch on my camera, but it's not coming
It's
on.
okay. Don't worry.
Yeah. And I'm Meeta. Meeta and I are childhood friends. I've been looking, it's very ironical because I've been looking to study the Bhagavad Gita for the past 1 year, but I was not finding the right person who I could learn from. I tried my hand at several abridged versions and somehow it wasn't gripping enough.
Right.
But I've always wanted to know more about the Gita. So when Meeta suggested that I join your classes,
Yeah.
it was like, of course, this is what I've been looking for. Someone who can speak in simple language, which common people like us can understand. Because all the classes or wherever I went, they speak a lot of Sanskrit. They speak a lot of, they've been telling us about things which are like, they're not relevant to our day-to-day lives. But I hear so many people say Gita is so relevant to our day-to-day lives once you get to understand the real essence of it.
Right.
So I said, let me try my hand at it.
That's good. I will try my best to keep it simple
I'm
and
sure you're fantastic.
okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we'll help each other out. Okay. So if you guys feel that it's becoming too complicated or whatever, let me know. And that's the idea of this group. So we keep it very informal. We keep it friendly. I'm not a guru. I'm just one of you. I just happen to have read the Gita, learned the Gita a little bit earlier, and I'm very interested in it. So, that's how this is.
That's what actually brought me to it, because you're not a guru. All the
Yes.
people who I was trying to understand it were gurus, and they had their own agendas. So I was
Exactly.
like, I want to hear from somebody who's like just read it and understands it better than the rest of us.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gayatri. And Sunita, are you back? I think Sunita has caught up with something. So no worries. When she gets back, we'll ask her to introduce next time we get in touch with contact with her. Okay.
Yeah, hello Dheeraj, I'm there.
Okay, hi Sunita.
Hi. Actually, I was not able to unmute myself.
Okay.
I was there all along.
Okay,
So I'm
wonderful.
Sunita Dua. I'm from Delhi. So Mukta Soni is a good friend,
Yes.
and she was my boss.
Okay.
She retired. Yeah, she's my boss. So
Okay.
as co-workers, whenever she joined your class, she was there. Next day, she would come on Mondays and discuss it with me. So that is how I got intrigued. And when I came to know about this group, she asked me. So I was more than happy to join it.
Wonderful.
So that
Excellent.
is how I came to join this group. And anyways, like Gayatri also said, I've been trying to learn Gita for quite some time. But every time I start with it, I just end up with doing one chapter and then I'm off.
Okay.
I
We
mean,
won't let you go this
somehow.
time. We'll force you to stay with us.
So I hope to get through all the 18 chapters this time.
Wonderful.
So something or the other keeps happening and I'm not able to sustain.
Okay.
So
Not to
hoping
worry.
for the best. Thank you so much for your initiative.
Of course. Thank
We
you.
are indebted to you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So what I think I'll do right now is I'll just take you through a couple of slides that I have, which just talk about background of the Gita. So, I'm not able to find them. Let me see where it is. One second. So we'll quickly go through the background, and then today we'll just go through the main teaching of the Gita. What is the main gist? What is Gita really trying to say at the end of it all? And then we'll start the actual going through shloks and going through each and every line of the shlok and so on from next time onwards. Okay, so this will give you a very good background. That's the idea today. So, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So what you have in front of me, this is the book that I'm using so that you know. These are books written by Swami Dayananda Saraswati. And let me give you an example. So you can probably see it. This is one volume. There are 9 such volumes. Okay. And each volume covers 1 or 2 chapters. So 9 volumes, between them they cover 18 chapters. So it's a pretty extensive, if you put them all together, this is like this big. The books are this thick. So there's a lot there. We won't be able to cover everything, but just so you know, this is the reference. So if you are ever interested at a later stage to dig even deeper, I would highly recommend this series of books. It's called Home Study, Gita Home Study by Swami Dayananda Saraswati. So it's his classes that he has taken in one of the courses. These are like 6 months to 1 year long courses. So one of his students had transcribed it, edited it, then Swamiji approved it, and that was published as Gita Home Study. So this is just to let you know where what I'm going to talk about is going to come from. Okay. So what is Gita? So as you can see here, it's part. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So let's go through the overview of Gita. What is Gita? So you all know that Gita is part of the Mahabharata, right? Now Mahabharata has 18 sections in it. Gita is in the 6th section. So it's kind of bang in the middle of the Mahabharata. The section is called Bhishma Parva, just so you know. Mahabharata was written by sage Vyas, right? That also you know. Gita has 700 verses, 700 shlokas, and they are organized into 18 chapters. And each chapter has something unique and a lot of repetition too. With every chapter, he goes more and more and more into depth. But you'll see a lot of different topics coming up in different chapters. Now, there's another thing that you should know, that in our Vedanta philosophy, which is our treasured Indian philosophy of Vedanta, one of our most famous philosophies, there are 3 main canonical texts. And they together are called Prasthana Traya. Traya means 3 and Prasthan means text. So one of them is called the Upanishads. The Upanishads are found in the Veds. So you must have heard all these names. So that's why I want to make sure you understand what they are. They are all saying the same thing. Upanishads say the same thing. Bhagavad Gita says the same thing. And the third text, which is called Brahma Sutra, they also say the same thing. That is why they are Vedanta's texts. So it's the same philosophy, the same thing, said in different ways. Upanishad is a little bit more complicated, a little more complex. Dialogues between Guru and Shishya, very conceptual, very esoteric, very, not easy to follow without a guru, without a lot of instruction. Bhagavad Gita is the same thing said in a little bit more simple way. Krishna Bhagwan is saying it to Arjun, but the messages, some of the shloks he's saying are actually lifted, or they're completely he's repeating some of the things said in the Upanishads, word by word. So there's no difference in the main message. But the beauty of Bhagavad Gita is that Krishna Bhagwan has made it simple for everyday life. And I say that with tongue in cheek, a little relatively, because it is not simple. Not for me, not for us. We can't just read the Gita and get its meaning. Gita has to be taught. Gita has to be taught by someone who has learnt it also from someone also, some other guru. So it's a parampara. So one person learns it, then he teaches the other person. I always think of Gita as a kunji. Sometimes we used to have in our exams, we used to have these cheat sheets. कुंजी हम बनाते थे जहाँ पे हम छोटा सा लिख देते थे ताकि हमको याद रह जाए. It's an aid to memory. That's what Gita is. It's an aid to memory. If you understand what the what the message of the Gita is properly, then each slok will remind you of a particular aspect of that message. So just that shlok will not tell you everything because just by reading it you won't get it. But it will remind you of things that you have learned, which you will learn, for example, as we go through this. Then when you read that shlok, it will remind you of that thing. So the shlok will have a lot more meaning for you. It'll speak to you a lot more than it'll speak to an ordinary person who's reading the shlok for the first time without understanding the background. Okay? So that's how Gita is. But still, it is much simpler than the Upanishads. And the other thing which is great about the Gita is that it focuses a lot on Karam Yoga also. There is Gyan, which is knowledge about yourself, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But it also talks a lot about Karam Yoga. What should I do in my day-to-day life today? How can I become a better person, a happier person in my day-to-day life today? How do I deal with my desires, with my habits? All of these things are brought out in much more detail in the Gita. So Gita is much more practical, you can say, from that perspective, once you understand it. Then the third canonical text is called the Brahma Sutras. So Brahma Sutra is also saying the same thing as the Upanishad and the Bhagavad Gita, but this is like a textbook. This is like they do a logical analysis. It's called Mimamsa. They do a logical analysis of all that is being said in the Upanishads. They will compare it with other philosophies. They'll say how this, how what we are saying makes sense. It's called Nyaya Shastra. And Nyaya means logic. That's what Nyaya means. It means a logical analysis of what is Vedanta. Okay, so it's not for everyone. In fact, most teachers even say there's no need to read it unless you want to become a teacher. Because it's really, sometimes it can be very dry. But these three texts together form the core canons of Vedanta. And this is something you should know. And Gita is one of them. Gita is one of the core canons of the Vedanta philosophy. Okay? And like I said here, both address the Gyan Shastra and Yoga Shastra. That means that they tell you about knowledge of yourself, knowledge of the world, and they also tell you how to behave in this world, how to discipline your mind, how to make your mind stronger. Okay. Then, very quickly, there are 18 chapters in the Gita. Like I said, 700 verses. If you total all these in the bracket, it'll be 700. There is Arjun Vishad Yoga. This talks about the sorrow of Arjun. This is how Gita starts. Gita starts by Arjun in the middle of the battlefield, struggling in a dilemma. Should I fight this war and kill people who I love? Or should I not fight this war? If I don't fight this war, the adharma will prevail. My job is to fight for dharma. But on the other hand, if I fight my own grandfather, my own teacher, I'll have to fight them and kill them. So he was in a big dilemma. And that's what prompted him to put down his dhanush and tell Krishna Bhagwan, who was his sarthi, what should I do? And in response to this question, Krishna Bhagwan recited the whole Gita. In between, Arjun had more questions, so it's a dialogue, but that's how Gita started. So the first chapter is describing the situation, Arjun's situation, so that we know what's the context of the Gita. The second chapter is called Sankhya Yoga. This is talking about self-knowledge mainly. Then Karam Yoga, I'm not going to go into detail because we'll learn them when we get in there. Right now, they may not mean much to you. Then Gyan Karam Sannyas, Sannyas Yoga, and Dhyan Yoga. These six are called the first Shatkam, just so you know. Shatkam means a group of six. They are called the first group of six because they all address a particular topic. They're all talking about you. They're talking about the individual. How does an individual become better? What does an individual need to do to improve, make his mind better? That's called the first Shatkam Tvam. The second Shatkam, which is the second six, are talking about Ishwar. And the topics are Gyan Vigyan Yoga, Akshara Brahma, Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga, Vibhuti Yoga, Vishwarupa Darshan Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. But the focus of these six is about Ishwar. In Sanskrit, it's called Tat. So, as some of you may have heard the shlok, Tat Tvam Asi. So, Tat means Ishwar, Tvam means you, Asi means are. You are Ishwar. That's the main message of the Gita. And that message comes through in the final section, the Shatkam from 13 to 18, where constantly Bhagavan is talking about how you are like no different from Ishwar. Your essence is not different from Ishwar. The Ishwar that you are seeking for is in you. The divinity is in you. This is his main emphasis. I mean, they talk about all the things everywhere, but the last six, this is the main emphasis. So these are the three Shatkams of Gita. Okay. And the last six are Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, Purushottam Yoga, which is a very famous chapter, which many of you may have heard in Parayanas. People memorize it and speak to it because it summarizes the whole of Gita teaching in 20 verses. Then Daiva Sura Sampat Vibhaga Yoga, Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga, and Moksha Sannyas. So these are the 18 chapters of the Gita. Hopefully, we will go through all of them. Okay? With God's grace, we will go through all of them. I think you know all this. I'm not going to spend that much time on it. You all have Mahabharat's background. If you guys feel that you want to know more about any of this, we can take up any of these topics later in one of the classes. If you want to know more about Mahabharata itself, what's why how what led to this war, what led to Gita. But my feeling is that you probably all know it. You're all very familiar, it seems like, with these scriptures. So this is meant for people who really don't know much. So that's the context. I also want to take you through one shlok of the Gita. This is the first shlok of the Gita. We are not going to do much Sanskrit, Gayatri, so don't worry. We will go through the shlokas just to show you, and then I will take you through the English translation very quickly. But the reason why I want to take you through the shlok is to explain to you one of the beautiful elements of Gita. And that is that it's actually a Geet. Gita is a Geet. It's a song. It has a meter. And the meter that Gita is in is called the Anushtubh meter. It's a very simple meter. I'm going to sing it for you, okay? Not sing, but recite it. So he says, Dhritarashtra Uvacha. That means Dhritarashtra says, Dharmashetre. So it goes like this. Dharmashetre Kurukshetre Samveta Yuyutsavaha Mama Kaha Pandavaschaiva Kim Akurvat Sanjaya. So you can see the flow, right? The entire
Yeah.
Gita is in this flow. When the Gita is in a flow, when a text is in a flow, it's easy to remember. You know what's going to come. You know if you're missing something, because if the flow is not right, I'm missing some word. Or if you're saying too many words, then the flow again goes wrong. So that's why it's called Gita. That's why it's called a Geet. Gita means a Geet, a song. Bhagavad Gita means the song of the Lord. That's what Bhagavad Gita means. Actually, it has two meanings. One is the song of the Lord, and the other is the song about the Lord. Both of them are correct. Both are right when it comes to Bhagavad Gita. Okay? All right. So I'm going to shut this off now. This is enough background for the first class. We'll dig in more if needed. as needed. But I want to talk to you about what's the key message of the Bhagavad Gita. What is it trying to say? Why are we here? So, Gita says a lot of things. Gita talks about bhakti, Gita talks about karam yoga, Gita talks about dhyan yoga, meditation, samadhi. Gita talks about what happens after death. Gita talks about Atma, your essential nature. Gita talks about a lot of things. Everything which is there in our scriptures, in Hindu mythology, in Hindu, not mythology, but Hindu religion, is touched upon in one way or the other by the Gita. But what is all this leading to? Why is all this being said? What's the essential message of the Gita? The essential message of the Gita is how can I help you find, how can I find peace? How can I find contentment in my life? Gita tells you that your contentment is within you. You have to discover your contentment in you. Gita says that we spend our life looking for happiness, our happiness outside us. So we spend our life looking for our happiness through relationships, through money, through friends, through wealth, through power, accomplishments, achievements, all these things, they're important things. They're important things in life, and we should not disregard them because that's how we live our life. But the problem is that we are expecting from them something that they cannot give us. Let's say I have a relationship with my wife, and thankfully, touch wood, so far, all good. Okay. So I have a good relationship with my wife. I'm sure all of you have a good relationship, happy relationship. But if I expect now my wife to be my salvation, that I have my holes in life, my problems in life, and I have issues in life, I don't have meaning in my life, I need meaning. And I say my meaning should come from my wife. Now that places a very unrealistic burden on my wife and a very unrealistic burden on me as well. Because now suddenly I want my wife to be in a particular way. Because if she is not in that particular way, I say, no, 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 that is not giving me meaning. My wife should be ideal. She should be like this, she should do this, she should do that. Now, unfortunately, look at it from another way. My wife is also seeking meaning in her life, right? So she's thinking, I should get my meaning from my husband. So the husband has to be in a particular way. And I can assure you, I have personally gone through that experience where my wife feels you should be like this. मम्मी ने कुछ सिखाया नहीं क्या आपको? क्या ऐसे हो आप, right? So these things happen. Now, it's what will happen is if we all keep thinking like this, if we all seek our happiness from our relations, two things will happen. One, we are not going to get that happiness, right? Because that is not the place to look for the happiness. Second, whatever happiness or joy there will be in the relationship will also go away. Because there are certain things which a relationship will give you.
Yeah,
It will give you pleasures. It will give you
I'll
joy.
pick you up. I'll pick you.
That joy and pleasure will also not be there. You will lose that too. Because you're placing an unrealistic expectation from a relationship. The right expectation from a relationship is a wonderful, enjoying each other's company, helping each other out, doing everything that you can for each other. I'm there for my wife is there for me. Knowing this, raising a family together, having children, sharing values, all these are important, wonderful things. And we should all be doing them, and we should all be blessed with them. But my own contentment, my own peace, that is my journey. That is me. Kavita's, my wife's journey is her own. Your journey is yours. Your husband's journey is yours, is their own. So this is one example. The same thing with wealth. We like wealth. We enjoy wealth. What is wrong in wealth? It's a great thing. When you have wealth, you can do a lot of things. Without wealth, I wouldn't be able to teach you right now. If I didn't have money, if I couldn't have my next meal, we can't have a Gita class, right? Zoom is there. We are making use of technology. Somebody invented Zoom. That guy may be a billionaire. He is a billionaire, which is great. We are using it. Nothing wrong in wealth, nothing wrong in technology, nothing wrong in all the pleasures of life. But if I say, I expect my peace to come from my wealth, that's a problem. And you should, you probably know this in your own life by now, that wealth is great for certain things and completely useless for others. Correct? Most people say it's not the wealth, it's from relationships that you get. Gita says not even that. Gita says everything that is outside of you, that you're interacting with, right, has its place. And Bhagwan Krishna says, I will tell you through Karam Yoga how to interact with people so that your interactions are meaningful. People get meaning out of you and you get meaning out of you, out of the interaction. I will tell you how to interact with wealth, sure. But you have to find out within you your own contentment and peace. And Gita says, Bhagwan Krishna says, I will tell you that too. That part of Gita, Bhagwan Krishna's lectures or sermons, which tell you how to look inside yourself and discover your own contentment, your own Atma, know it, is called Gyan Yoga. That part of Gita, which tells you how to interact with the outside world, everything outside world, relationships, wealth, power, whatever, how to do it in a way that enriches you, strengthens you, rather than weakens your mind, is called Karam Yoga. Gyan Yoga, Karam Yoga. These are the two wings of the Gita. A bird can fly with two wings. With only one wing, the bird doesn't fly. Gita flies with two wings. Gyan Yoga, Karam Yoga. Gyan Yoga, I want to know myself because I am going to get my ultimate peace from myself. I myself am the one who is my own enemy when it comes to peace. It's my own mind which gives me the most distress. How do I make that distress into happiness? Karam Yoga, the way we interact with this world sometimes is fallacious. We follow our desires impulsively. We just run after them. That is totally wrong. It weakens us. Because we see every time we run after desire, we get a desire. What happens? We get more desires. That particular desire gets satisfied for a minute. For a few minutes, you're happy. For some months, maybe you're happy. Then a new desire springs up. Then you run after that. Before you know it, by running after desires, you've not reduced your desires, you've multiplied them. The more you get, the more you want. There's something basically wrong in that way of interaction with the world. And Karam Yoga tells you how to interact so that it's not about having more and more desires, but it's about having more and more pleasure from every interaction. How can I get more out of every interaction? How can I get more joy out of every interaction? So Gita doesn't say दुनिया छोड़ के हिमालय में चले जाओ. No. Gita says दुनिया में रहो. But कैसे रहो? There's a right way of doing it. So that you're becoming stronger as a person, not weaker. And when you're becoming stronger as a person and your mind is becoming stronger, you have more capability to know your own self. You will have contentment. Prasannata, Gita calls it. You'll have prasannata, tranquility. Okay, so that's the main big message of the Gita. And we'll find everything that we are doing, whether we are talking about bhakti, whether we are talking about Karam Yoga, whether we are talking about, dhyan, meditation, you'll see how it connects to this message. And it must connect to the message. Otherwise, we are not getting the right meaning from the Gita. Because this is ultimately Gita's quest. That's why Gita is so powerful and so relevant. Because this is as relevant today as it was when the Gita was written, or 4,000 years ago when the Vedas were written. It's still the same. Our satisfaction still comes from within. Still, even that time, people were running after desires the wrong way and had to be taught, relevant, and the same thing today. The object of desires have changed. Now my desire is for an iPhone, right? उस समय maybe it was for a teer with a teer kaman, lovely teer kaman, or something like that. God knows what the desires were at that time. But that's the Gita. So I want to open up now for any Q&A, any discussion, any thoughts, because this is our first class. So if you guys have questions or anything else you want to say, please feel free. Anji Didi.
Yeah,
Sure.
Nitu.
Yeah.
Does it mean that you have to be in balance with your desires and yourself? But the balance in the sense your growth internally and the pleasures outside?
Yeah, they are not opposing factors. It's not as if pleasures outside will affect your growth internally. I think what
Right,
Gita is saying is, think about it this way. You can be happy and full and content. And in
right,
that state, you can say, go eat some nice meals and go for a nice movie. You can enjoy while being content. So what will happen when you do that way is that, let's say tomorrow, let's say you want something badly, but you're a content person as it is. आपको आपने मूवी देखनी है, very crazy simple example. Now for some reason मूवी हॉल बत्ती चली गई, मूवी नहीं देख सकते आप.
right,
उनसे ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, I'll do something else. You're not like dependent on that pleasure. You'll enjoy the pleasure.
right.
But if you're not content, if you're restless, then what happens is we are seeking to see the movie, we are seeking to do all these things to fill a hole within ourselves. Then when you will see, oh, batti chali gayi, you will be desperate. अरे क्या हो गया? तबाह हो गया, बत्ती चली गई, मैंने देखी थी मूवी, that kind of thing. I'm giving you a very bad example because this is not a really good example. But the
Right.
idea is that when you are approaching the world and approaching the pleasures of the world from a full heart, a heart which is already content, which is not seeking anything outside for its own contentment, then you enjoy
Right.
it with a little detachment. You enjoy more. But if you are not that, if your mind already has restlessness and has all kinds of issues, right, is not whole, then a lot of people, they go for enjoyment to fill a hole in their heart, right? So that's what Gita is saying. Okay, once, if you are able to be happy, be content, then the world will suddenly seem like a very nice place to you. Otherwise, if you're not content, the world seems like a horrible place. ये क्या हो रहा है दुनिया में? यहाँ लड़ाई हो रही है, वहां लड़ाई हो रही है. The world is gone to hell. अभी देखो पुराने जमाने में कितना अच्छा होता था, अब तो सब नाश हो गया है. That will be your attitude because you'll be seeing that dissatisfaction, that problem in the world outside.
No, but in other words, if you are content outside, only then your internal growth can take place. Huh? Matlab, you are satisfied with all respects and then you can concentrate
बिल्कुल.
inside.
Both
Because
are
if you are
correct.
not satisfied outside, how do you have your internal growth? How do you grow?
We will see that. Both are
Okay.
correct. That is why there are two wings of the Gita.
Mm,
You have to do Karam Yoga and Gyan Yoga. You have to know yourself, and at the same time, you have to have a mind which is capable of knowing yourself. So both have to be done at the same time. So you have to, in other words, you have to have a disciplined mind. A disciplined mind will have the ability to actually understand what Gita is saying. Without that discipline, the mind won't be able to understand. On the other hand, till you understand, you won't even have discipline, proper discipline.
Right.
Right? That's what you're saying.
So it's going hand in hand. No?
It's going hand in hand. The two happen together.
Right.
In my Swami Dayananda used to say, it's like a spiral staircase. So you go on a spiral staircase, you come back to the same point, but you come back higher.
Right.
When you go one more
Right.
round, you come back higher still. That's
You've
how
achieved something.
you achieve something. So you go like you need to walk. You need two steps, two things. Which कदम will you do first? ये अगर आप यही सोचते रह जाओगे कि मैं पहले लेफ्ट आगे करूं चलने के लिए या पहले राइट आगे करूं,
तो फिर तो होगा ही नहीं
कहीं नहीं
कुछ भी.
जाओगे. क्या आपको याद है? देयर वाज अ जोक व्हेन समबडी सेड कि मैं आगे नहीं चल सकता, मेरे को पता नहीं मैं आगे अपना लेफ्ट पैर करूं या राइट पैर करूं. सो उसके दोस्त ने कहा मैं तुझे बताता हूं. He got a stick and said, I'm going to beat you with a stick. And suddenly the guy ran.
अपने आप हो गया.
Right? He wasn't thinking anymore, left or right. So that's what happens in Gita too. We will suddenly find we are in the process. We've started the process, and both are happening.
Okay.
So basically, this is talking about emotional stability also at some place, that you are not very happy with something or you're not very sad with something. You accept everything in a very stable manner. Is that
Yes.
what we are also talking about?
Yes, that is also true. But I think that is what Gita says. We all know that, right? हमको बड़ा बंधु है. But the main thing here is, if you don't have a certain degree of contentment, then it is hard to do what you just said, to accept everything in a stable manner. कहने के लिए बड़ा आसान है, लेकिन करने के लिए मुश्किल है, right? Because we get affected by things. So we can say, yes, that is what we should do. You should accept the bad and the good equally. Don't get affected.
That's simpler said than done.
Simpler said than done, but that is the objective. That is what you have to reach. That is not your first step. That is your ultimate. That is your destination.
But then one can start with smaller steps, and then I
Yes.
guess one
You
reaches.
start
It
with
has to
smaller
be.
steps.
It has to be applied somewhere consciously.
Exactly.
And only then one can, one can't say it is eventually going to happen. It is
Right.
only going to happen slowly when you actually start really believing in it.
Absolutely. So for Gita says there are two things are needed for that. One, you have to start small, very true. Take a small step. But at the same time, you have to have knowledge. You need to know that why is it that you're doing this? Why is it that you are trying to stay the same in the face of adversity and happiness? Why is it important? Because you're saying, why should I give up a pleasure? If I'm having something pleasurable, आप कहते हो कि मैं उसको enjoy ना करूं? Why should I not? Like, why should I not be elated if something good is happening? This is a question you will ask. Maybe अभी नहीं पूछ रहे, लेकिन when it actually happens, you will ask this
Yes,
question,
actually.
right? So, till you know the answer to that question, you will not be able to follow what you're saying, which is keep calm. And the answer to that question is what Gita is, and I'm telling you in a short form right now, which is what we'll learn, is that what you will find in life is that these joys and pleasures, when you run after them like that, you'll find they're short lived. You'll find that the joy, all these elations are followed quickly by a deflation. It just is a way life is. Because we are expecting too much from this elationary thing. So, this understanding that pleasures and going after desires and pleasures do not give you peace and happiness. This understanding is going to help you gain the discipline. If you don't have this understanding, then you're just trying to use willpower to say, मैं ना खुश होंगी ना मैं दुखी होंगी. And willpower कितना will है? जितना try कर लो, कुछ देर तक चलेगा. Some person may have more willpower than the other, but ultimately everybody is going to collapse. We are all human beings. So you cannot use willpower alone to transform yourself. You have to have understanding.
Yeah.
That is the part of the Gita which is very important too. Which is क्यों? Because हमको पता है. And the other thing which Gita tells you is, let's say you get a certain amount of pleasure, you get X amount of pleasure by running after a desire or a pleasure. It says you will get 100x, 1000x of that by inner peace. The pleasure of inner peace is far, far greater than the pleasure of meeting a particular transient desire. That is the other thing we have to understand. So if you are giving up something, you're giving up for a greater good to you. It's not a Gita doesn't tell you be unselfish. Gita says be enlightened selfishness. Do the right thing for yourself. That is the idea.
It's difficult.
No, it's a we have to start. It is difficult.
Yes.
Yes. So when once we get started, we have to worry about the next step then. Every mountain which you climb, you have to start and worry about the next step, not about the summit. You can't keep thinking of this. You can think of the summit, yes, to inspire you, but then you see, okay, I've got the next step.
Right.
Other questions or thoughts? Shall I start picking on you guys one by one if you are not speaking? I can do that also. Gayatri, what is your impression after so far? What are your thoughts?
I think I follow what you say so far, and I think we need. I'll be able to say more or contribute more once we go deeper into it and we understand. We really start the class. I think then my questions will come.
No problem. That's fine. Anybody else?
Long way to go.
Long way to go?
Yeah. अभी तो लग रहा है कि दिल्ली दूर है.
So far, everything's very clear, but I think once we start walking on that path, then we'll probably
Yeah.
have
No, that's
more
okay.
questions.
No problem. That's totally fine. Okay. So,
One point that comes to me, Amita,
yeah.
is that anything that happens outside, first it manifests within us, in our mind.
Yeah.
So it is the understanding of everything that will only give us the directions and elevations. Awareness and understanding, and to honest acceptance is very important, I feel. But yes, it's not that easy. Slowly it comes with the practice.
Amita, that is such a good point because, if you ask me personally,
Yeah.
in my own
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
last 7, 8 years,
Yeah.
and I'm no, like I told you before, I'm just an ordinary person, not a guru or anything. But if
Okay.
you ask me, the single most important thing for
Yeah.
self-transformation is integrity.
Yeah.
Meaning, integrity meaning coming face to face with yours,
Yeah.
objectively
Truth.
being able to look at your own self,
Yeah.
right? Because I found I was guilty of not being objective. I used to not look at my own kamzoris and weakness. I used to gloss over them. I
Yeah.
used to, only the good things I used to see.
Yeah.
Or I used to kid myself, कि नहीं नहीं मैं I can do this, or I can have control, I can have discipline. I was kidding myself. And
Yeah.
this whole exercise will become useless, or it'll just become another useless exercise if integrity is missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
True.
किसी को और को नहीं बताना है, तुमने अपने आप से ही बताना है कि
Yeah.
मेरी सिचुएशन क्या है, कि
Yes.
what is my reality. अपने आप को बताना है, and अपने आप से this whole journey is within yourself. Nobody is here, you're not here to impress anybody. कोई
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not like that. It's a journey between you and yourself. कृष्ण भी आप ही हो और अर्जुन भी आप ही हो. And the
Yeah.
dialogue is also within you.
Yeah.
So if you don't have integrity, you will just not move forward, right?
Yes. True.
It will just be an exercise, a paper exercise for you.
Yeah.
But if you have integrity,
Yeah.
one way or the other, you will move forward.
Yes.
Maybe it will take you time. Maybe some people might do something in 6 months and you might take 6 years. That's still okay. You're moving forward. No problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think you hit upon a very important point, which is integrity is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So I have a question. You said that Gita is a part of Vedanta. So, I mean, what is the time period when which was written first, or Gita was spoken first and then incorporated as Vedanta, one of the three texts? I mean, I just needed some clarity on that.
So yeah, good. No, I'm glad you're asking. So Gita is there is nothing. Vedanta is just a philosophy, right? So uh, the philosophy of Vedanta is extracted from different scriptural texts. So the first initial texts which were written or not written at that time, they were spoken. This is a spoken tradition. Writing तो बड़ी बाद में आई है. ये जो सारे वेद हैं, people used to memorize them, and then their shishyas used to memorize them too, and that's how they passed on by spoken tradition. So Vedas were spoken, or you can say written if you like to call it that, but they're spoken 4,000 years ago. The Rig Veda, for example. So some of the mantras of the Rig Veda were then the Upanishads slowly over time. Upanishads came about 1500 BC, 1000 BC. So when the Upanishads came, Upanishads are a dialogue. They're a story. A teacher is having a dialogue with a student. Student is asking a question. मुझे दुख क्यों है? टीचर बता रहा है ऐसे है. स्टूडेंट कहता है मुझे कैसे पता चलेगा अपनी आत्मा के बारे में? So teacher will tell you this is the way to do it. So it's written as a dialogue. Now, the Vedanta, it doesn't say okay, this is Vedanta. It doesn't call it a philosophy, nothing. It's just a dialogue. Shankaracharya, he took the Upanishads, and actually not Shankaracharya, Vedvyas. Vedvyas, he took the Upanishads and extracted from it a philosophy. He read all the Upanishads and said, what is it actually saying in the dialogue? What's the underlying philosophical grounding of the Upanishads? He took those and he created a philosophy called Vedanta. It has come from the dialogues of the Upanishad, but it has not been described as such in Upanishads. And that philosophy he put in a text called Brahma Sutras, which is written by Vyas. And that is what we now know is Vedanta. So Vedanta came from the Upanishad. That's why it's called the Shruti. Shruti means the thing that has been heard. The original source is the Upanishads, which is basically nothing different from the Ved. Ved se aaye. But it's in the end part of the Ved, that's why it's called Vedanta. So that's how Vedanta came about. It's somebody manually extracted the philosophy, the main principles of the teachings and put it down as Vedanta. Now what they found is Gita is Smriti. Smriti means something which is remembered. So Gita is a text which is based on the Upanishads. So the same philosophy which was there in the Upanishads is also reflected in the Gita. So that is how we say that Gita is also based on Vedanta. Okay? The written down texts are the three that I told you, the Prasthanatraya. Does it answer your question, Kanchan?
It does. Yeah, it does. So
Okay.
basically, what I understand is that Gita was spoken by Krishna, but this was a knowledge which was already there
Absolutely.
in the form of Upanishads,
Yes.
and it was the essence of that
Yes.
which was applicable to the situation at that time,
Exactly.
and to give everybody at large a lesson for the future, or for people to how to conduct their lives and how to. So this was
Absolutely.
basically taken out from Upanishads.
Yes, I mean it was the messaging, the key messages are taken out of the Upanishads. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
And in
Okay.
fact, actually आप देख लो अपने आप किसने लोगों को उपनिषद किसी को पता ही नहीं है. Somebody knows कि
Hmm.
उपनिषद है. It's not accessible.
Hmm.
You can't just read.
Correct.
गीता सबको पता है. Right?
Yeah, because I did try to ask certain people that I want to understand the Vedas, I want to read, or I want to, but then it is not that easy.
No,
It's
no,
really
no,
not
not
that
at all.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah. But Gita सबको पता है. That's because that is the remarkable miracle of Bhagwan Krishna and Ved Vyas, who actually wrote the Gita, that he has simplified the messaging of Upanishads into a song, which is
Yeah.
easy to remember. which is very practical. He's sort of made it very, but to understand it properly, you still need to have the knowledge of Vedanta. So when you are, let's say, when we are going to do this together, we are going to go into the depths of the Gita in some places. You'll find, we'll go into so much depth because we have studied it by a teacher who was teaching us Vedanta, right? So when I learned Vedanta, I didn't only learn the Gita. Gita se pehle I learned some introductory texts like the Tattva Bodha and things like that. Uske baad I learned the Gita. Then they taught us Upanishads. Then I personally learned Brahma Sutra also because I was interested. So for me, so naturally then, what I have, my angle is Vedanta, and Gita is one of the tools. But I find Gita very remarkable. I find it very much a wonderful tool because it's very simple. I mean, relatively speaking, okay. I don't mean to.
It's simpler than the other text.
Yes, it's simpler than the other thing. Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess the idea of creating this entire the Mahabharata and this war and the questions was, and the Gita was basically spoken to make it easy for people.
Absolutely.
For general people.
Yes.
Because obviously the rest of the teachings were not that accessible or understandable.
Absolutely correct. In fact, actually, Gita ke baad, there was, just so because you're interested in this, there was another thing which came up, which made it even simpler. And that is called the kya kehte the? Puranas, right?
Yeah, right.
The Puranas are also the teachings of the Ved. But that is really like in story form. वो तो बिल्कुल ही उनको teaching को भी simplify कर दिया है.
And that is why the children get to read
the Puranas,
book,
exactly.
the
Yes.
Puranas,
So
where
you can
different
think of
stories
Puranas
from
is
them.
elementary class, Gita is high school, and Upanishad is college. That is how you think about it.
In fact, here I would like to share something, and in fact, I share that thing with a lot of parents of young kids. I found a book by Rupa Ganguly, and she has actually written Gita for children. I mean, obviously, she can't write Gita. She's written this book for children, Gita for children, and it has these little gray pages in between, which actually tell you, for example, there's an incidence of a child being bullied. So, how Gita looks at it, what is the perspective, and what should be done? I thought that was so amazing. So, basically, I mean, to contemporize it to this level, which is the easiest way. So, I mean, I was really taken in by that book, and I thought that was like telling you with your everyday incidents. It can't go better than that. That if this is happening, or if there is competition, how should you deal with it? If there's a A grade or A plus grade kind of competition, how a child should deal with it? I think it is brilliant. So this is how applicable Gita is to us and to our everyday lives, that it can even go down to our children's everyday things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, or should we call it? We are at our time now. Unless there's any burning question, we can take it up next time. Okay, so next time we are going to actually get into chapter 1. So we'll start with the shloka I just shared with you, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Okay, and we will try to cover at least a major part of chapter 1, which is about describing the context for Gita. Gita doesn't start until chapter 2. Krishna Bhagwan's teaching actually starts in chapter 2, verse 11. Like up to that point, it's context. So we'll go through it a little quicker, but it's important to understand the context too. Okay. So thank you, guys. Thank you for
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Not at all. We'll meet in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Bye. Bye, Didi. Meera Didi. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dheeraj.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.